Hi everyone. So this is the puppet builds that we're going to be working on, and thanks everyone for joining us. It's I'm very surprised to see so many actually, but very exciting. So we're actually going to go through a full build today, and starting from scratch. So literally from the foam section, which you don't normally see, right the way through. Hopefully we'll have time to finish it, though this is our day off, so we're going to be finishing at about 6 o'clock tonight, our time. I don't know what time that will be for your time, but that's the sort of time we hope to be going. So about 6 hours or so. We'll see how it goes anyway. So great to see so many people. Just tell me where you're from. That'd be great to see on your comments where you're all coming from. And that'll help me then to realise that some of you are probably just getting up in the morning, aren't you? That'd be really cool. So the first task I normally do is I normally make the foam bodies. When you see our builds on TikTok normally, the body is already complete, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the section of making the bodies, making the hands, and the different types of things we do there. So I've got a selection of patterns. This one here I've got is just called, at the moment it's just called Fat Round, but I have loads and loads of different types of bodies, templates that I've made, so I just thought we'd do this one today. It was great that all the patrons actually decided that we're going to be making a beastie today, and it's going to be purple and multicolored with cab eyes, nose, horns, and then we've got a dealer's choice. And with a dealer's choice, because it says it's then going to be from outer space, I think I want to double the eyes up. So that's where I'm coming from today, and so because of that I want to do fat body, so fat round body. So what I do first of all is I lay this down on the foam. This foam I use is reticulated foam. It's not the normal foam you would find in upholstery, though you can use both, it doesn't matter. The reticulated foam though is, it's 15 mil thick. I don't know what that is in American, I'm sorry. Maybe half an inch, slightly more than half an inch. 15 mil I use, reticulated foam. Now I use this because it's very, very strong. See if I can find a scrap. Wait there 1 second. Of course you're not going anywhere, are you? But this is a scrap of the reticulated foam. It's used for filters, or it was designed for filters, I believe. But it means to say that when I get it, it is incredibly strong. Really, that is all my strength. Well, not all my strength, but it is certainly a lot of strength to try to keep that in one piece. So it's very strong, and it's also resistant to sweat. And I don't know many people out there, when you're using puppets, obviously your hand gets very, very hot and very sweaty, and the sweat can actually break down the foam itself, and so maybe after not so long the foam will actually start to fall apart, and then the puppet sort of deteriorates, will start falling apart. So the reticulated foam is a lot better for that. I don't know where you can get it from your different countries. I can see here we've got Australia, Glasgow, and all over the place. It's great to see you all. Yeah, just do a search for that, and that's really is a great product. Anyway, enough talk about reticulated foam. What I do then is I place this onto the foam and draw around the outside. Now, there is a gap here, and you might be thinking, oh, it's a bit of a waste. If I put it right to the end, I would save here. The reason why I do that is because I use the bandsaw when I'm cutting, and the bandsaw is, as some of you have seen our TikToks, can be very fussy, could I say. It doesn't like certain things. Is a very old machine. I used to use it for cutting cakes. I used to call it the cake cutter. So yeah, that's another story. But anyway, I lay this down onto the foam, and then I think about the colour of the puppet. So this one's going to be purple and multi, and so I find just a purple pen, which will just help. It's not important, it's not imperative that you do this, but some fabrics, even though they seem to be thick, you can see the colour through them. And so if let's say I used a purple and then I had a white fleece, you would probably see the purple underneath. So I normally try to match the colour if possible. It's not important, but these were really, really cheap from, if you're in the UK, from B&M. Fantastic. So anyway, I lay this out and I draw around the outside. I'm on camera, so I'm going to probably mess it up here, aren't I? But do it as carefully as you can, going around the outside of the build. If you hear any rumblings, that's the dog that's in the workshop at the moment. To keep her quiet, I gave her a bone, and now all you can hear is the bone being munched. So if you do hear anything, that's basically what's happening. It's the munching of a bone. And I take that off now, and you can see the shape, the rough shape. You can see I've made a slight mistake here, but that's fine. If I was to cut this out with scissors, which is perfectly fine, if I was going to do it with scissors, I would do two separate. I would now draw around a second one. If I was going to do this on the bandsaw, I cut two at a time. It saves time. I know they're the same shape, and so I'll literally do both those at the same time if possible. Yeah, so what I would do now is roughly cut around the outside, but again not too close to the edge because my bandsaw, and then lay it on top of the other one and do exactly the same, like so. You can use blades. I do use some of these, again you might have seen, they're called Persona blades. I believe they're for hairdressing originally, but they are so sharp. They're great for fur and great for foam, but you've got to be so careful because they are so sharp. I've cut myself so many times. So whenever you do, lay them down flat. So if you do put your hand down, you're not actually going to cut yourself because believe me, they will slice. So I'll put that to one side for the minute. I'm going to go to the bandsaw. I'm not going to show you that. You've seen that before. I'll be back in a second. You'll hear the rumblings of the bandsaw. And here's one I prepared earlier. So there we go. Now, if you have any questions, please, feel free to ask them. I've got an iPad set up, so I'm trying to, if you have any comments, any questions at all, then please, feel free to ask them, and I can read them as we go along. But as you can see, this is the body ready to go. So I'll just move this out of the way for you. And now I'll use contact adhesive. Now, I've had lots of people ask questions, certainly questions about waste. This is obviously offcuts. People say, what do I do with all this waste? Well, you'll see later on, we've got smaller parts which will fit onto those offcuts, so that's fine. So we don't waste it that way. We use them for other builds. But also there are scrap stores we used to use. We've just moved into a different city, so we'll be finding a scrap store there. And also schools. Also had other puppet builders have come along, and they take big bins full of foam and fur and fleece and everything else, which we have as offcuts. So it never goes to waste. We don't throw it away. We obviously like to recycle. Anyway, this is the contact adhesive. I've bought so many different types. This is an Evo stick contact adhesive, but that's not necessary. I know that in America you'll use a barge cement you can get hold of, which is a similar sort of thing. But honestly, a cheap contact adhesive, again, if you're in the UK, B&Q sell a really cheap tin of contact adhesive, which is just as good as Evo stick for this particular job. I have used spray, almost like carpet adhesive in the past, which works great, but that's very messy. That's all. So, in fact, that's what I started with originally, but you've got to wear gloves because it goes everywhere and it gets particularly messy. But with contact adhesive, the crazy thing is that when you put this on, and I'll put a little bit on, again, I use coffee stirrers when I'm doing this, but as I put it on, this is where we have our forbidden honey sandwich, isn't it? So I'm going to put some of this on and just smear it. I put on quite a lot, and I know that some puppet builders, they use it quite sparingly. They put it on sometimes with another piece of foam. You know, you'll find your own technique. You might find actually the way I do it isn't good enough for you, or you'd prefer to use another way. That's fine. You'll find your own way. But the problem with contact adhesive, or the thing is, this is wet. And if I join this together now, and I know lots of people have said, you know, you're putting it together dry. I'll show you. If I put it together wet, it just falls apart. It's really, you can't use it when it's wet. And so some contact adhesives, you've got to wait until they're really dry. This one is tacky-ish, you know, so not completely dry, but tacky. And I use then coffee stirrers to spread this on. Again, the smaller size, I used lollipop sticks in the past, but I find that the smaller size is better just to get into the cracks, really. Foam would be difficult to get into these particular areas, so there we go. There we go. Okay. So someone did ask there, how did I get into the craft? And basically, I've been an engineer for a long time, and I was with a friend, and we started doing puppetry together. We did a puppet show, and it was great, but I preferred doing the making, and so that's really, I suppose, how I got into the craft. I started learning a long time ago how the process is, and I then joined the team at Furry Fingers probably about 10 years ago, I suppose. So that's roughly how I got into it. And someone else has said, which is great, how long does each puppet take to make approximately? That's a great question. And wow, some will take far too long. Some you think this is going to be a really easy puppet. I know where I'm going with this. A lot of it is knowing your ideas, what you're going to do. And you think it's going to be fine. No problems at all. And they can take hours. Sometimes I've had some take weeks, literally weeks. But the builds that we do for TikTok, they normally take about 8 hours, I suppose. Yeah, so they do take a little while. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to get some air around this, and I just tap the outside to see how dry it is. I literally, as I'm touching it, I'm feeling to see has any glue come off onto my hands, and it hasn't here. A little bit on this end, but that should be fine. So again, a little waft around, and as I start putting this together, I'll be able to see whether it's too wet or too dry. So squeeze these edges together, and actually that's fine. When you're doing your foam work, try to take time. I'm rushing today because obviously I'm on camera and a bit nervous and everything else, but the more care you take with your foam, you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's just beginning to peel apart here. So it's a little, there we are, a little too wet. It should be fine. I'll leave it just a little longer. Yeah, the more care you take with the foam work, the better your puppet will look. Especially with the head, you really want to get the head to be symmetrical if you can, if that's the sort of puppet you're going for. And if you sort of feed maybe the foam in one side, you can see here, if I grab it, I can push it into the wrong place if I'm, over accentuating there. So you can do that, and then the head will become very sort of lopsided, and then the puppet can look just slightly off. So take care when you're doing that. I think this is now getting dry enough. And there we go. Squeeze those together, and you can see they're taking shape. What's my favourite puppet shape to make? I don't think a shape necessarily, though I do really like the smiley at the moment, but I like to have a freedom to be creative, I think. When you're restricted and it's got to be a particular thing for a particular, we have clients and it's got to look exactly like that person, that makes it quite difficult and it's not quite so enjoyable. These TikToks, though, are great fun because we can just have a lot of fun creating. Well, as we'd said, today we're going to do a creature from outer space. Well, I mean, that could be anything, couldn't it? So that's great fun. With this then, the body now, I'm going to put the two halves together. I normally connect the bottom and then the top. And then very carefully feed the rest in. Again, because you can make the body quite lopsided otherwise. So there we go. And again, so I do the top and the bottom, and then feed the edges in. I know what you mean when someone said there, you have no need for a puppet whatsoever, but you want one. Yeah, I'm with you there. It's bizarre, isn't it, really? Puppets are great things, and they can be used for, I don't know, in so many ways for telling stories and everything. So you might think, actually, I don't need one, but later on you think, actually, that would be great for telling a story to my grandchildren or something. So, so that's really good. But anyway, that's a finished body. It's a bit rushed, so it is slightly lopsided, but that is a finished body, and that's what we would start a build with, or one of the things we'd start the build with. I go around and just tweak to make sure everything is stuck together and the body is complete. There we go. So the next thing we have, which you never see, is the hands. And so I then actually make the hands. So let me get some foam for that. And I have a number of hand templates, all different sizes, and I created them on the computer, and then I just resize them. So this is the medium size, and then I've got a smaller one and I've got a larger one, and it's just a case of I've 3D printed these then any size that I want. So again, you normally have these already complete, but hand is obviously quite important. So again, using the same method, I'll get the pen, the color that I think it's going to be, and I'll draw around the outside. Now the pen can't get into all the corners, so you'll see in a minute what I do is I come down to this corner here, and then I just add in almost like a square for the blade to actually get in and get around. Also, I put in some marks here and here. It is actually on the template, but this is the pocket where the arm rod will actually go in to control the hands. I've got some arm rods. These are the arm rods that we use, and this will then go into that pocket, and then we can, by turning and moving the arms around, you can control the hand. So that's basically an arm rod. You can have them different lengths and everything, but this is how people control the arms on puppetry. So I do one way, flip, and do the other. It's very important when we're doing a lot of this work with puppetry to remember to flip, because there's so many times you can get it wrong, especially when you're working on the head, and the fabric on the head needs to be flipped a lot of the time. So anyway, let's just put those on. And again, what I do, because I'm using the bandsaw, is I will cut these out together. So just do a quick square around. You can see I've got 2 there and 2 here. Put that to one side, and I'm off to the bandsaw again, so talk amongst yourselves whilst I just quickly cut these out. And there we have the hands. Okay, just reading some comments, that's all. Sorry about the silence there. Just going to grab a drink. At this point, does anyone have any questions at all? Okay, so someone's just asked what we're making. Well, we're actually going to be making a beastie. It's from our lore series, which was series 2. and it was based on the Beast of Dartmoor, which we decided. There was a lore that there was a beast that roamed Dartmoor, and so that's where we then sort of based this puppet idea from. So yeah, we're going to be making that, and just to refresh you, the Patreons decided it was going to be a beastie. It was going to be purple and multicolored with cab eyes, nose, horns, and the dealer's choice, which was going to be, I decided was going to be double eyes, and it was going to be a creature from outer space. So that's what we're doing at the moment. So these hands, again, so many people do it so many different ways, and I have spent years, I think, trying to work out how to do certain things, and I've come back to a very simple way of actually producing hands. All of the hands we like to have as wire posable, so I get some wire, this sort of stuff. This is, I think, floristry wire, is aluminium wire. It's 2mm in thickness. Again, I don't know what that is, sorry, in American. No, I don't know, 3mm is an eighth, isn't it? So it's less than an eighth, whatever that is. So anyway, it's floristry wire, and what I do is I get some and I wrap it together. So I use a drill and I sort of twist two pieces together to make it slightly stronger. Because it's aluminium, it will eventually break if it was one strand. Of you using it backwards and forwards all the time, it will start breaking. So twisting two together just makes it that little bit stronger. So normally a day, a month or something, I make loads of these up, so I'm ready for doing more builds. And what I do is I lay these out inside the hands, like so. There we are, that sort of thing. There we go, and there we go, the last one there. It's not an art. This is just literally laying it out inside the hand so that they have fingers that can bend, really, I suppose. So there we go. And it's at this stage I use the hot glue gun for the first time. I don't normally use a hot glue gun. I know people do use them for puppet building, which is great. I don't, purely because it just takes a long time to stick two pieces of foam together if you use it. If I get, again, some pieces here and I squirt some hot glue on here and then put it together on the foam, it will stick, but you've got to hold it there for some time, and I just found contact adhesive far more effective for this. So so yeah, that's why I use it. So you can see it is sticking and it will stick, but I used it for this purpose anyway. So what I like to do is I like to go over the tips of the fingers, just so it covers the sharp edge, and so it won't poke through the fabric. So it's a bit of protection on the fabric and a bit of protection for the user, and it just keeps it all together. So I go onto the tips first of all, like so. And then I'll stick it randomly on the inside, and typically my glue has just run out. Let me just get another stick. There we go. And hold this in place. There we go. So that's on the inside of the hands. Probably don't need any more glue than that. That will be on the inside, and then the top would go on top. But I don't do that yet, because I need to make a little pocket for the for the arm rod to actually go into. So we've got this little flag bit on the top here. So I want that to go inside a little tiny pocket. So I first of all will make a pocket up. So again, looking at the colour of the puppet we've got, which is a purple puppet, I'll cut just a small amount of fabric. So I've got some purple here already prepared. Looks like Blue Peter, isn't it? So this is the fabric I'm going to be using. So I'll literally fold it over and I'm going to quickly sew two little pockets. Just wait a second once I go onto the sewing machine. So I'm back. I use an old industrial sewing machine. It's fantastic. I managed to get it second hand. I think it's an old brother, and it's fantastic because obviously going through fur and different thick materials, it can cope with that no problems at all. Though I do also have just a normal sewing machine, which is great. It's just that the industrial thing is just a bit of a beast, I suppose. So, yeah. So what I do now is I will get these little pockets. You can see I've just sewn a little pocket, so folded it over, sewn, and this will then be able to go inside here. And so what I need to do is stick this. And again, what I'll use here is the hot glue gun to stick that in place. One there. And do you remember those markers I put down originally, and I said there were two markers? I'm putting that in that place there where the markers are. So they'll stick there. And again, if I put the stick in, you'll see it will work eventually. What I then do is I will then stick the top onto here. I use a different glue again for this. You can use hot glue. I've used hot glue in the past. I've used contact adhesive in the past. What I do like to use though when I'm doing this is actually a carpet spray, just because it covers everything. It covers the whole fabric and everything else. I believe the carpet spray is a contact adhesive anyway. Heavy duty adhesive spray is the cheapest I could find. You don't have to buy anything expensive here, and you can see I put down card here because it goes everywhere, so just take care when you're doing that. There we go. And again, just wait a little while. There we go. So I'm going to have to wait a while for that to go off. Not as long as normal because I think it comes out so thin. So careful though, so it does get on your hands. It can make a right mess. So yeah. Thanks for all your comments again. It's really great to see everyone and your responses. Fantastic. Thanks for that. Again, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to ask, and I'll see if I can answer. Won't necessarily have all the answers, but I'll see if I can answer. So I'm going to put this one over the top now and try to align the fingers up. Okay, and we have something looking like this. And you'll then have, I'll do the other one as well. go. Once you've done that, and what's great is you'll now see that you can bend the fingers. Obviously when you've got fabric around them it's even better, but at this stage you can see what we've got. So you've got a little pocket now which will go in here, and I can now control the hand, there we go, through the pocket. So we've now got the body and we've got two hands. Let's move this out of the way. Let's just move there as well. The other thing I would normally start with, which I haven't, I've got one already prepared. I haven't actually, you can see that the hot glue now is actually stuck really well. So if you're patient, it's a great way. That's stuck really well. So there we go. The other thing which I use a lot of are these. And these are just tubes of cheap fleece, and I just roll them up into tubes. I use the spray adhesive for that one and make them up into little tubes, and I normally have 2 for each arm. And these are the bones which go into the arm. I used to just stuff it with teddy bear stuffing or pillow stuffing, that type of thing. But I found that you could get really lumpy arms that way, which I didn't like. And so just by rolling up some cheap fleece, doesn't matter what colour necessarily, I actually then, I could get more uniformed, a more uniform arm. So yeah, so that's what I use. So I normally would come to the build and you'd say, right, here we go, we're going to start the build. I normally come with a body, 2 hands and 4 bones in a sense. Someone said, where do I get my foam from? In the UK, we're in the UK, so I'm not sure, Belle, where you are. But we get it from Pentonville Rubber, who are based in London. Really good there. So and yeah, not too bad a price either. So yeah, though I do believe there's a company. Well, you'll find them all over the place, but I know there's another company in Devon, but we normally stay with Pentonville. Yes, there we go. Someone has said there, you've made so many fancy puppets. I'd love to see a sci-fi or more human-looking puppets from you. Yeah, we've done all sorts of puppets, sci-fi and everything else, and human puppets. But again, it all depends what the dice say. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. But sci-fi today, so we'll see what happens there, shan't we? So anyway. We've got the body now, hands, bones, and the next task then is I'd like to start with the mouth plate. And again, I've used so many different mouth plates in the past, and you can use so many different materials. Sorry, my mind went there. I'm really sorry, it's Sunday. Someone said, where are we based? Yeah, we're in Wales in the UK, so we're not in the US, I'm afraid. Yeah, so basically I've used so many different materials. These are 3D printed. I've used ice cream tub. In fact, I'm pretty sure the very first puppet I made, I used an ice cream tub lid for its mouth plate. And he was called Eric, and a very, very bad puppet, but he had a mouth plate like that. We used wood. I've used literally neoprene rubber, rubber gasket material, everything. It all depends on what you want. But it comes. What I prefer now, though, is I really do prefer to use just a plywood. Again, this is 3mm plywood. The reason being is that not only can I get like a uniform, they'll always be the same, and I know I could do that with 3D printing, but I think that when I'm gluing and I'm using contact adhesives and everything else, it soaks into the wood so much better. And being an engineer in my past, I over-engineer absolutely everything. And so I'm always concerned that things are going to fall apart. Well, it never does with plywood. It never does actually with this, with the 3D print. But I love the feel and the textures and everything else of plywood. So that's basically what I use. So I use the 3D prints a lot of the time as templates, and then the wood for the mouth plate itself. So I've got some plywood here already prepared again, which I'm going to now literally with a pen just draw around the outside. The problem, I suppose, with using plywood is that you need a machine to cut around that plywood, and whereas if you're using a ice cream top or ice cream lid or something like that, you can just use scissors. So that's yeah, I suppose that's a lot easier for you. We do have the bandsaw. I did get it so cheap though. So you know, when people, you know, it sounds as though it's like I'm being you know, I've got this wonderful machinery. I got it secondhand, and I got it, yeah, incredibly cheap. So, so I think again in the UK maybe £50. I think I paid for it. I know it keeps on breaking. Yeah, okay, but you know, maybe £50, which would be, I don't know, about $70 in the US. So, and it saves so much time. So if you're going to be making puppets yourselves, it really it is a good investment, I would say. You know, it's really good to have, so worth having. And they're always on eBay, or I think you can even get cheap ones on Amazon. So yeah, worth it if you want to go down that route anyway. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut this out now on the bandsaw, so you'll hear some screeching as this goes along, and I'll be right back. Okay, so they're just cut out now. I'm just going to quickly sand off any sharp edges and make sure they're ready. There we go. I mean, as a side note, whenever I'm creating a new puppet, I normally start with the mouth plate. This is where I would think about the puppet, think about the shape of the animal or the creature that I want. Like with Fox we did not too long ago. I think, you know, what does a fox snout look like? What would their mouth look like? I start with the mouth plate and then I build up from there. So just as a bit of insight for some of you who like to make your own maybe, this is, yeah, what I would do. And on here, because it's on wood, I would then put bottom for bottom and top for top, so I know which way round it goes, so I can work out those. I then put the templates away, so I don't need that anymore. There we go. So we've now got that ready. Again, in the past, I've used so many different ways to hinge these. I've used sort of like gaffer tape, where I used to put a piece of gaffer tape on the bottom and then stick it on top, then put another piece of gaffer tape on top of that. Oops, sorry. Then another gaffer tape on top, so it would all hinge together. And then I spoke to a puppet builder, some of you might know, Phil Fletcher, who's an amazing puppet builder. And he said, why on earth are you doing that? Just use the fabric, because the fabric won't fall apart. And so, you know, from working with him, that's what I do from now on. So I get a piece of fleece. The colour that I want is going to be black today. I normally have black insides the mouths. I don't know why. We used to have red, but of course you could have any colour. And this is just polo fleece. Again, cheap polo fleece, which is great, works really, really well. And it's at this point that we would normally have, can I hear you all cry out, S for sexy, that's it, yeah. That's where I normally put the S for sexy on here. And we'll stick this onto here. There we go. I just smeared that. And you might have noticed here, I didn't put it on both sides and then stick it on one side. I literally just keep it wet there and put it straight onto the fabric. And because it's plywood, it soaks into the plywood, it soaks into the fleece, and it sticks perfectly well. So I suppose you could smear it on both sides, but saving time, I just put it on one side, and that works that way. Mouth plates are, again, an art upon themselves. And if you're in the Patreon, which I know a number of you are, which is great, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be spending some time over the coming weeks, months probably, where I'm going to show different ways of maybe doing mouth plates, of mouth straps, of just different aspects. So they won't be massively long live streams, but I might spend, I don't know, half an hour or so just talking through talking through mouth plates and how they work, and maybe using different materials and looking at different hands, and then maybe in the future we'll be looking at making patterns and the different methods of making patterns. So tune in for that. That's something I've got in my mind that I'd like to do with you, so that'd be great. Someone's saying, do you have any kits for making your own puppets? Yeah, we do, and I'm really sorry, but they are ready. We've got not kits, but we've got the patterns. We've videoed it, and the tutorials are all ready. We just got to do the voiceover for it, and then they'll be ready. We've done one for the gerbil and we've done one for the snoz at the moment. And we are going to then be looking at doing the long snout next, I believe, after that. So the idea was to do one per month, but the time it takes to put all this together and set up the shop and do the builds, it's we sort of severely underestimated, what we were able to achieve. So please keep your eyes open. They will be available very, very soon. Someone says they were at our shop in Carmarthen with your nan the other day. Fantastic, that was really good. Pop in and see us. We're not open yet, but certainly pop in and say hello if you're in Carmarthen. That'd be great to see us, so that'd be fantastic. Someone said, what is your name on Patreon? And it's just Furry Fingers, so you should be able to find us on Furry Fingers, you should be able to find us there, and there's all sorts of things that we've got available. And the link will be in the bio if you need to find us there. But we just brought out a new pin. I'm going to show you this. I know we're not talking about it, but this here is fantastic. I say it's fantastic because I drew it. But anyway, but this is the new pin. This is King Louis. This is from the lore from season, I'm going to bring it closer to the camera, from season 2. We did a Lana last month, or it might be the month before now, and this is Lewis, who's the next one in the season, and I've just started designing the next one for next month. So I know some Patreons, they like to collect pins, so we're going to be doing a pin a month for them. Anyway, sorry. Got sidetracked there, didn't I? So I'm going to cut around the outside. This has certainly gone off hard now. And can you see you don't need a hinge? This movement is really, really good. And this fabric's never going to fall apart. So I didn't need the masking tape or the gaffer tape or any other systems. This works perfectly well. And that's what you find over years of making puppets. You pick up ideas from other puppet makers. And some of you out there who are watching today might be fantastic at the work that you're doing. And you might think, oh my goodness me, he does it rubbish. But you might pick up something, you think, but I've never thought of that. That's a great idea. And it's just great to share ideas sometimes, isn't it? You know, it's we all learn from each other. You know, I'm not an expert, but I've been doing it a long time, and so I just pick up ideas. So it's great to share. Anyway, right, that's the mouth plate. Someone said they're hoping to crochet a gerbil. That would be amazing if you could do that. I know a friend of ours, another puppet builder, crochets lots of octopuses, and you might have seen one in our set last year. That was one of her crocheted octopuses. But a crocheted gerbil, yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. The gerbils, as we're aware, I've just had one thrown at me. Here is a crocheted octopus. Look at that. It's so cute. She does so many different sizes and things. Oh, I've got another one. Just they're being launched through the air. They're a little tiny one. Yeah. I think this one only had 7 legs. But anyway, that's it's a septopus. Would that be right? I don't know. Anyway, it's an octopi there. But yeah, a crocheted gerbil would be great. The gerbils, they do sell so well, but we've got so many that we are making. So if you ordered one, you know, a couple of weeks back, we are making them, honest, and we are sending them out. But obviously they do take a while. So keep on holding on. They will be coming to you very soon. Anyway, back to the mouth plate. As I said, the Patreons, I'll be going through all of this sort of stuff. So hopefully we'll go through lots of different ideas for you to learn how to do different mouth plates, different bodies, all that sort of stuff. Are you planning to use other shapes of puppets' bodies for making? Yeah, we do. I've got probably about 20 different puppet bodies which I choose from. And it all depends on what I feel at the time. If it comes through that I've got to make a beastie, or I've got to make a frode, or I've got to make something, I then think, do I want it to be a little fat thing, or do I want it to be, what do I want it to look like? So that's what I just choose. I just choose then. So there we go. Back to the mouth plate again. So here we go. So I now use a piece of foam, which I had here. Excuse me, wait a second, I just get another piece of foam. There's EVA foam now. Awesome. And this is what I've got here. This is an EVA foam. I get this from Pentonville Rubber, and they sell it in great big sheets. I've used it for making mascot suits in the past. This is for the bottoms of the feet and things. And I've got so many offcuts that I continue to use this. But again, you don't need to use this. It's just what I have available, and it's what I like to use. So using now the Persona blade, very carefully, I slice off a part of this. There we go. And I make these little chunks here. Now, what are these for? You'll be asking, I'm sure. These actually they're stuck on the inside, and they enable me, when I put my hand in, they enable me to grab onto something. When you're using a puppet sometimes, you want something for your hand to be to have purchase on, so you can actually operate the mouth of the puppet. If it's going to be difficult with this one now, but if you didn't, you don't have a lot of control over the puppet, put it that way. So I normally stick these on, and then we do the mouth straps, which will be next. Mouth straps wise, again, I've done everything from leather to is it pipe insulation? You know, the tubular pipe insulation where you can put your fingers in, and stuck that on. I've used so many things, but again, gone back to simplicity really, which seems to work quite well. So EVA foam, this I do on one side here, on the other side, and I will stick this down. and I squish it around and then take it off, because I do want this now to go off hard. I do want it actually to go off hard on the wood itself. Because this is a plastic, it can't evaporate through the plastic, and so it doesn't stick well. Am I making sense? Here it's fine. This needs to go off dry before I put it back on top of the wood, and then it will stick really well. Again, when I've had to repair puppets in the past, I've for someone, and I've gone in and wondered about how strong this is, and it's just incredibly strong. Some of this, you've almost got to, use your strength to pull the thing apart. You can use a hairdryer sometimes, which will loosen everything off, yeah, really, it's the heat will help to loosen the glue, and then you can pull it apart easier. But once it's stuck, it really truly is stuck. So, which is great. That's what you want, isn't it? At the end of the day.